Okay, this is going to be real quick. It's just easier to do it this way. This morning, we have 4 girls, and so plus me in this house, there's a lot of estrogen, a lot of anyway, it was one of those days for one of my daughters, and I was aware of it, and I've been really just pressing into the Lord about how does heaven reign in this situation, right? So I recognized what was going on, and I recognized in me the need or the tendency to want to fight that, be like, chill out, all that, to fight the child or the person having the problem instead of fighting for him. And so the Lord has been working on that with me for years now. So I'm in this place, and I stop, pause, and go, Lord, I recognize inside what is going on. What do I do? How do I stand in this moment for her? And how does she see the victory? How do I fight with her? And instantly he reminded me of David, King David, well, before he was king, and King Saul, and how Saul the enemy was fighting inside of him, right? We'd call him bipolar, all those kind of stuff. Because we like to put names on things, put them in a box, and then separate us from them, meaning they have the problem, we don't. So that aside, that's for somebody. But if their enemy is fighting at you inside, meaning you're your own worst enemy, at times, he reminded me, worship. Put music on around you and watch what happens. And then instantly he brought me to 2 Chronicles and the story of Jehoshaphat that we so often will preach about. Praise precedes the victory, right? Well, that story, if you go back and read it, it's so awesome. So I'm not here to spend hours teaching. But basically, God told Jehoshaphat that the Israelites were going to have victory in this in this battle against this enemy that was giant, right? He said, you're going to have the victory. So they went in hearing that, but they still had to go in to battle, right? And that's what I think so many of us forget. We think this whole promised land idea is that we're not going to have any more battles. There's always enemies in the land. We have to go possess the possession that God gave us, right? So they're going into this land, but what Jehoshaphat decided to do was to put the worshipers at the front. And I've always thought of this with worship. I've used it as a weapon against the enemy outside, for lack of a better word. I have, and I'm not always great at it, but when I remember, I'm like, yes, fighting the enemy. Well, this morning, he reminded me, he was the one defeating the enemy. The worship, the reason Jehoshaphat did that, the reason they were successful, they never had to lift a finger. If you read that story, they got there and God had already confused the enemy and caused them to fight against themselves. The worshiping was for them. Because we get overwhelmed, we get afraid, we get angry, disappointed in ourselves, disappointed in the world. Worship refocuses our heart and fights the way that we are fighting against our own heart, and we don't even realize it. There's a million reasons why we are, and that is something that the Lord can quicken to us what the thing that is fighting against us is, like why. But when that battle is inside you, worship. Put it on when those words can't come out of your mouth. Find a song that accurately reflects the heart of God over you and let it play over you until those words pour out your mouth, and you will fight. You will walk to the battlefield and see the enemy that was coming against you completely destroyed by the Lord's hand alone. That's for somebody. That's for all of us. I needed that this morning. Love you guys.